October 8, 1952, 8:19 in the morning. In less than 10 seconds, 3 trains and 112 lives would collide at Harrow and Wealdstone station in the worst peacetime rail disaster Britain has ever known. The morning had begun ordinarily enough. Despite the fog that lingered over Middlesex, the 7:31 local train from Tring to Euston pulled into platform for at Harrow and Wealdstone station, running 7 minutes late. 9 carriages packed with approximately 800 passengers busier than usual because the next service had been cancelled. The guard walked back along the platform, checking doors on the last 2 carriages, ensuring everything was secure before departure. What he didn't know was that behind him, hurtling through patches of fog at 50 to 60 miles per hour, came the overnight express from Perth. 11 carriages carrying 85 exhausted passengers who had been traveling. Through the night, the Perth train was running 80 minutes late because of the fog. Its locomotive, the City of Glasgow, bore down on the stationary local train. The driver had passed a caution signal, then to danger signals. He never slowed down. At 8:19 a.m., the Perth Express slammed into the rear of the local train at full speed. The impact drove the entire local train forward 20 yards. The rear 3 coaches didn't just derail, they were obliterated. The wooden bodies of the last 2 coaches shattered completely. The steel body of the 3rd coach crushed to a third of its length. 3 carriages telescoped into the length of little more than 1. The leading vans and coaches of the Perth train piled up behind and above its own locomotive, creating a mountain of twisted metal and splintered wood. But the disaster wasn't finished. The wreckage from the first collision spread across the adjacent track, the down fast line. And on that line, at that very moment, came the 8 a.m. express from Euston to Liverpool and Manchester. 15 carriages, 200 passengers, 2 powerful locomotives pulling it north at 60 miles per hour. Seconds, that's all that separated the first collision from the second. The leading locomotive of the Liverpool train struck the derailed Perth locomotive head-on. Both Liverpool engines were thrown left, mounting the platform, plowing across it diagonally before crashing onto their sides on the electric line beyond. The leading 7 coaches of the Liverpool train, carried forward by pure momentum, rode over the existing wreckage and piled up above and around it. Several coaches struck the underside of the station footbridge with such force they tore away a steel girder. When the thunder of collapsing metal finally ceased, 16 vehicles lay destroyed or severely damaged. 13 of them compressed into a compact heap of wreckage 45 yards long, 18 yards wide, and 6 yards high. The Perth locomotive, the City of Glasgow, was completely buried underneath the pile. The first emergency services arrived at 8:22 a.m., just 3 minutes after the collision. Fire brigade, ambulance, police. Within moments, help poured in from everywhere. A medical unit from the United States Air Force stationed 5 miles away at RAF South Ruislip, including an African-American nurse named Abby Sweetwine, who would become known as the Angel of Platform 6. The Salvation Army arrived. The first loaded ambulance departed at 8:27 a.m. By 12:15 in the afternoon, most of the injured had been transported to hospitals. But the search for survivors continued through the night, not ending until 1:30 the following morning. 112 people died. The driver and fireman of the Perth Express. The driver of the lead Liverpool locomotive, though his fireman was miraculously thrown from the cab without serious injury. 109 passengers. At least 64 from the local train, 23 from the Perth train, 7 from the Liverpool train. 14 others whose origins could not be determined. Some may have been standing on the platform when the Liverpool locomotives mounted it. Another 340 people were injured, 88 of them serious enough to require hospitalization. The Ministry of Transport launched an immediate investigation. When the report was published in June 1953, it painted a chilling picture. Tests showed no faults in the signaling equipment. The driver of the Perth train, described as a methodical young man, in good health, had simply failed to respond to the caution signal. He passed to danger signals without slowing. Eyewitnesses aboard the Perth train reported an emergency brake application just seconds before impact. Far too late. The report could only speculate. Perhaps the driver had relaxed his concentration for a few seconds in a deceptive patch of denser fog. Perhaps he missed the distance signal and continued forward, underestimating the distance he'd run, still expecting to see signals that had already passed. The fog had lifted near Harrow and Wealdstone station with visibility of 200 to 300 yards. But back at the distance signal, witnesses estimated visibility at only 50 to 100 yards. At 50 miles per hour, that distance would be covered in 4 seconds or less. The reason was never established. Both the driver and fireman of the Perth train were killed in the accident. But the report concluded with a critical recommendation. Railway safety depended on obedience to signals. Yes, and drivers throughout Britain displayed professional skill and care on the vast majority of occasions. But the exceptional case of human failure needed reinforcement. The report calculated that as system warning drivers, they depassed a signal at caution or danger would have prevented 10% of accidents. In the previous 41 years, potentially saving 399 lives, including the 112 at Harrow. British Railways was already developing such a system. By the time the report was published, a 5-year plan had been agreed to install the automatic warning system on over 1,300 miles of line. The accident at Harrow accelerated that introduction, pushing skeptics aside who had argued more track circuits and color light signals would save more lives. The wreckage was cleared methodically. All 6 lines through the station closed immediately to allow ambulances access from the goods yard. The slow lines reopened at 5:30 to the following morning. The electric lines reopened on October 11th. The fast lines, with speed restrictions, reopened on October 12th, along with a temporary footbridge. The locomotives told their own stories. Windward Islands, the leading locomotive of the Liverpool train, bore the brunt of the impact and was completely destroyed, scrapped for parts. Princess Anne, the second Liverpool locomotiva, rebuilt from an experimental steam turbine that had only been in conventional service for a few months, took serious damage with its leading bogie torn off and mainframes buckled, deemed beyond economic repair. It too was scrapped. The city of Glasgow from the Perth train was badly damaged but eventually rebuilt, remaining in service until 1963. The local train's locomotive, running bunker first, emerged remarkably undamaged and also served until 1963. In 2002, 50 years after that foggy October morning, a memorial plaque was unveiled at Harrow and Wealdstone station. Local schoolchildren painted a mural featuring scenes from Wealdstone's history, dedicated in memory of the victims. The nameplates from Windward Islands and Princess Anne were acquired by Doncaster Grammar School Railway Society, where they remained 2-day silent witnesses to the morning when 3 trains, a few seconds and one unexplained. Failure of attention created the worst peacetime rail disaster in British history. If this story gripped you, subscribe to the daily feature for more dramatic historical narratives delivered daily, because history is on just dates and facts. It's the stories that shaped our world.